What's up, everyone? Name Code Dustin here with Fantasy Smack Talk. Before we get into it, real quick, you can still have your chance to win a fancy t-shirt. Even if you haven't been playing the pick'em, you can sign up now. If you win, you get a t-shirt. Might not be the black one, might be the white one. It's all based on inventory. We're cleaning out the white ones first. And entered into a box break from boxbreakings.com. Great site. You should check that out as well. But Dustin, let's get into some tips.
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and that's utilizing your bench right now, making sure your bench is the best bench you can have right now. And what we mean by that is look at your bench in depth. Look at your playoff matchups for the guys on your bench. If there's no chance they're ever going to play for you from the rest of the year, get someone on your team that might. You know, guys like Ben Jarvis with how streaky he is. You know, guys like James Starks who probably aren't going to make your lineup. They're probably not going to make anyone else's lineup either. Even if they pick them up, you know, who cares? They're probably not going to start them. And you need to pick up people on the waiver wire that could be potentially played against you. Guys like defenses, for example. I'm in one league right now where Pittsburgh and San Francisco were available, and I picked them up. I'm running with 3 defenses right now. Now I play the defensive strategy with those 3 guys, with those 3 defenses, but also no one can play those defenses against me. But a guy like James Starks, if they pick them up, go ahead, play him against me. I don't care.
It's terrible.
But Brent, what else you got?
Some other things too, handcuff. If you haven't done that with your studs yet, you certainly want to go looking to do that. And also, one last thing, if your league locks the free agency on the Thursday games, so once the Thursday game kickoff starts, you can't make any free agent moves. At that time, you might want to think about, if you're an individual defensive player league, picking up a second one of those, even picking up a second kicker for the playoffs. Heaven forbid the kicker you got goes down and then you're locked in and you can't have a kicker that week. So if you have like 3 quarterbacks, something stupid like that, drop one of them, pick up that additional kicker. The only time you're allowed to carry 2 kickers is something like this.
And also, too, obviously this depends on how deep your league is.
Yeah.
If you're in a 14-team league, don't go dropping James Starks. But it all depends on if someone else will potentially start him against you. All those factor in. But just make sure your bench...
Be smart about it.
Just be smart about your bench right now.
All right, Dustin, forum question time. First one comes from MT Yang 11. Wants to know which running back to start this week. It's Reggie Bush versus Oakland, Cedric Benson at Pittsburgh, or CJ Spiller versus the Titans. 50% of the community is saying you got to go Reggie Bush.
You know, I really liked Reggie Bush coming into the year, and then when Daniel Thomas started playing well, I lost a lot of faith in Bush. But I'm back on the Bush bandwagon at this point. He's looked really good. Miami, I feel like, has really found the best way to use Reggie Bush, and they're using him in the passing game and the running game, and he's been playing really great lately. Decent matchup against Oakland. That game could be somewhat high scoring. I like Reggie Bush this week. All right, Brent, we got one from Ricky P. Which wide receiver? We got Torrey Smith at Cleveland or James Jones at the Giants. 71% are going with Torrey Smith right now.
Yeah, I got to agree with the community on this one. I mean, they're both really hit or miss type of guys. But at least with Torrey Smith, he's the clear number 2 out there. I know they're saying Lee Evans is going to get more looks, but why would they do that? Smith has been playing, fairly well. And the fact of the matter with James Jones, boom or bust, because Aaron Rodgers spreads the ball so well, and he's probably like the 5th guy he looks at. I would just go Torrey Smith here. All right, Dustin. QB question from Show Nuff, phenomenal name, wants to know, Timmy Tebow at Minnesota or Joe Flacco at the Browns, 70%. Yeah, it's going with your boy. Tebow.
You know I'm going Tebow with this one. I've been somewhat realistic with when I actually choose Tebow, but this one I really like him more than...
I recall you picking him over Tom Brady.
That was only 1 week. It did backfire, but...
So, somewhat realistic.
I threw that in there. But Minnesota... it's funny because when looking at maybe starting Tebow, you almost have to look more at what the defense does against the run rather than the pass. And I will take
written about in the Stardom Cinema article.
And I will take that into consideration. But I think Tebow can beat you in any number of ways. He does still throw the ball every once in a while. Minnesota gives up a ton of total yards and about 27, I believe, points per game. I think they will be able to put up
throws
some
the ball
points.
about 9-10 times.
And Flacco's a tough matchup with Cleveland. So Tebow.
I would go Tebow too.
Studs, duds, and sleepers. Let's start with my picks. My stud, Victor CRUZ. This guy's been amazing this year. And going up against Green Bay this week, a pass D that's not that great. Should be another shootout. Giants will more than likely be playing from behind. CRUZ should have another big game. My dud, Beanie Wells, going up against that tough Dallas run D. Wells went up against St. Louis last week. They're not that great. I feel like some owners might be so excited about what Wells did that they throw him in no matter what. Definitely be careful. Beanie Wells is not matchup proof. And my sleepers, Roy Halou, had to find a way to factor him in here some way into this show. I really like him, and I know people are going to look at that matchup against the Jets and get afraid and not necessarily want to start him. Believe in this guy. They're going to use him a lot. One thing I will say about Shanahan is once he picks a starting running back, he gives that running back a ton of touches. So I really like Halou this week, even though he's playing the Jets.
Just hope for no fumbles. Then Shanahan will pull him. God, I hate Shanahan. But I agree with Halou. My stud is going to be Matthew Stafford. And here's the deal. Last couple weeks, he's been throwing some picks. But he had that glove on. He had the splint on his finger. Both are gone. Apparently, he's looking great in practice. I really like Stafford against the Saints. Should be a high-scoring game. My dud, Steven Jackson against the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners have not allowed a rushing touchdown this year.
Unbelievable.
It's ridiculous.
That's why their record is what it is.
It's just, I don't think Steven Jackson's going to be the first one to break it in, so just factor that when you're setting your lineups. And then my sleeper, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, but it's CJ Spiller. Last week, CJ Spiller got the majority of the touches for the Bills against the Jets. I expect him to do the same against Tennessee, who's ranked 23rd against the run, and he looked decent. Now, he didn't break any tackles, but he was pretty elusive. And I think there's a chance he can break a long one, so if you're in need for a running back and he's available, I think you could do a lot worse than Spiller.
All right, let's move into Mike's picks. His stud, Ray Rice. They're going up against Cleveland, and while they can stop the pass, they're not that great at stopping the run. Look for Ray Rice to have a decent game. His dud, Sam Bradford. Bradford's had a really hard time getting things going this year. He hasn't really been connecting with his receivers that consistently. The receivers out there aren't that great. They got 49ers this week who can stop everything. They can stop the pass just like they can stop the run. Tough matchup. And his sleeper, Maurice Morris. They're going up against New Orleans. That game could turn into a shootout. Kevin Smith is out. And Morris surprisingly got involved a lot in the passing game after being kind of left out of that part of the game for pretty much all season. He had 9 catches last week, which was pretty impressive. If you're desperate for a running back, Maurice Morris could be a decent plug-in for you. So that's it for our Week 13 show. As always, if you got any questions, get into those forums. I'm Dustin. This is Nameco. Hopefully y'all make the playoffs.
And Kevin Smith isn't officially ruled out, but it looks like a very, very strong possibility. So we just gotta put that disclaimer. All right. Love of God. These guys out here are crazy. Love them. They're crazy.